Hey, my village. I'm giving you guys time to get in while I share this to my group and my business page. And we're going to have some deep conversation and get serious today. I know a lot of people don't like this topic, and I know I'm going to lose a few people, but that's fine. It's time for a purge on my page anyway, because I'm almost at my 5,000 again. But I will definitely touch some people on this topic. People are going to be in their feelings, but it's okay. We're all adults, and we can definitely talk about disciplining our kids. I seen this question. Thank you guys for joining. I'm just sharing it on my other page really quick. I seen this question in another group that I'm in. The question was actually, how many of you don't whoop your kids? And of course, there were some people that do whoop their kids that replied to the response, and we're like, the whole purpose was for those who don't whoop their kids. So it's like, don't get in your feelings if you're one of the ones that do whoop your kids. But it was really funny how that happened. So I wanted to ask that question on my page and to see who respond. And for those who are new to my page, I am Coach Mo. My name is Monique, but I go by Coach Mo. I am a parenting and business coach. So I help parents co-parent with success to be able to coexist in their child's life, as well as I help female entrepreneurs identify their ideal client to be able to create content, products, and services to gain income in their business. So as you see, the topic is, let me see what I put. The topic is, do you whip your children? So I asked this earlier, of course. A lot of people respond, and they respond the way I was expecting them to. Some did, some agreed that they do whoop their kids, some don't. Some say it's needed, it's necessary. Some try to quote the Bible, but we're going to talk about all that today. So my question, I'm going to answer the question. No, I don't. Because there's other ways you can discipline your child besides using physical abuse. So I always ask people, like, why? Because I did ask, if you do whip your child, why do you whip them? Let me see. A lot of people say they whip their kid. This is the number one excuse I always hear. I got whooped and I turned out fine. So I whip my kids. And that's like pure ignorance to me. It's a generational curse. That's what that's called. Because no one else taught you differently. No one else taught you a different way of disciplining your child. Your parents are doing what their parents did, and then it trickles down generation after generation. Nobody know why they're actually whooping their kid. So I always say, do you do it because all previous generations have done it and you turned out okay? I always ask people that question because usually that's the main reason why they do it. And I always ask, like, they're like, oh, I turned out okay. And I always ask them, are you really okay? Because sometimes doing that form of punishment by whooping them, beating them with whatever you could pick your hands up and get is a form of traumatizing. You can traumatize your child. And a lot of kids I see get threatened, yelled at, stuff like that. That is not the way to go, because your kid can turn out with anxiety, whether it be PTSD. I did my last video on 6 type of anxiety that people suffer from. It's not a permanent disorder. It is temporary, but you can cause your child to have PTSD due to you threatening them and whooping them with whatever you pick up. So I always ask people, is it better or worse to whoop them or not whoop them? And then it also depends on the kid. So I definitely do agree with that. Whooping, yelling, or threatening is a form of abuse, just in case people didn't know that. So you can yell at your kid, make threats, whoop them. It's a form of abuse, no matter how you look at it. There's no explanation to justify it. It's physical and mental manipulation. And I bring this to people's attention because people normally, mainly my people, whoop their kid and they not realize that is a slave mentality. That's what slave owners did to our people to gain control over them, to instill fear, Why are you trying to instill fear in your child when you're the parent? They're the kid. They should be listening to you. If you're doing it right, they will respect and listen to you. You won't have to use physical abuse. So it's like, it's a slave mentality to manipulate your child and instill fear by using physical force or yelling. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Different strokes for different folks. That's true. But it's like, especially our black boys, they get enough abuse and manipulation and fear instilled in them by society alone. Why do they have to deal with that when they come home as well? Including our men too, because some men are in abusive relationships. I've seen that. But it's a mental and physical manipulation. When you're yelling, threatening your kids and stuff, it's breeding grounds for them developing anxiety or PTSD, which is a type of anxiety. You see that all the time. Yes. There's ways you can make your child listen to you. I'm not going to say be fearful of you, because they shouldn't be fearful of you. Fear is not from God. So if you're trying to instill fear in your child, it's not from God at all. That is some whole nother stuff, and that's a whole nother topic. But you know when your child is experiencing some type of anxiety if you simply raise your hand and they jump because they're scared you're going to hit them. That's a problem. That's not good at all. Your kid should not jump when you move your hand or pick up a belt and they pleading for their life. Why are you torturing your kids like that? That is not okay. So that's why I wanted to make people aware. It's like they shouldn't be pleading for their life because you picked up a belt or you picked up whatever you whoop them with, extension cord, rope, whatever. Some people go to the extreme and pick up stuff, hit them physically with their hands. It's uncalled for if you're doing your job as a parent. You should have control over your kid no matter what, because you're the parent, they're the child. Simple as that. You pay the bills. You take care of them. You feed them. Is any form of punishment non-traumatic? Yes, it is. Like when I was a kid, we used to have to do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups. You don't want to be sitting there doing push-ups and sit-ups all day. So it worked, because you'll get right and you'll hold everybody else accountable, because it was one person get in trouble, everybody get in trouble. So we learned accountability. We are accountable for each other's actions. So we keep everybody in alignment and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do so that we won't get in trouble. You're just being scared that you're going to have to do push-ups and sit-ups. We didn't have no childhood obesity in our house. Everybody was fit. Either way, it's not good and it's not healthy for your kid mentally, physically, emotionally. And then you wonder why when your kid get older, they try to do everything opposite of what you did because of that fear. And this is why I eliminate your child needing a therapist when they become older due to your poor parenting decisions. That's exactly what I do for my parenting clients. But it's all a slave mentality. Slaves were beating as a form of control and to instill fear. And that's what we're doing to our kids. Well, not me, but I don't like to yell. So yelling is not a form of discipline for me because it hurts too much. I have a soft voice and yelling is not an option. We shouldn't treat our kids the same way slaves were being treated by choice. When we have a choice, it's all a choice. So when I tell parents, a lot of times when parents lash out and whip their kids, it's due to them not having patience with their child. They are not in control of their self. That's why they lose control and use physical force. So I always tell them, check yourself first before you take all your frustration and stress out on your child, because usually it don't have nothing to do with the kid. Then they have parent guilt after they do it. I get that all the time. Like, I feel so bad after and cry and all this stuff because it had nothing to do with the kid. It was all them. It was them. They lost control. So you have to check yourself before you punish the kid. Like, take a breath, walk away, assess the situation, talk to them. Simply ask the kid, why were they acting out? A lot of kids only act out because they need attention from their parents. Their parents are not there. They're always busy. They're home, but they're not home. They're home in a physical sense, but not mentally and not emotionally available. So kids usually act out for a reason. It's usually not for no reason. They don't lie for no reason. They act out because they either want attention And or it can be something else. Someone can be abusing them, someone can be bothering them, but nobody's paying attention to the signs. All they do is keep getting whooped, punished. Then you wonder why it don't work anymore. Eventually they get immune to it. So it's like you have to try other options, because eventually you physically abusing your child is not going to work. It only works so long. Just like me, I got whooped until I think I was 13, until I grabbed the belt and act like I was going to hit her back. Then that's when it stopped, because I instilled fear in her. So it's a manipulation. So once you realize what's going on and that you actually have the power to, like, the child is going to turn against you either way. It's going to get to a certain point where you feel like the belt is not going to work. I'm going to have to take them down and fight them like some person off the street. That's when you have to check yourself and see, what is it about me that I have to use physical force because I feel like I'm not in control. Because usually that's why you whoop them. It's usually not due to the punishment that they did, because half the time it's not nothing that bad. You just whoop them because you don't have any more patience, and either you take out whatever you're going through on your child, but it's not okay. And when you know better, you do better. So that's why I'm here to help you. There are other options. Make your kid do chores. These kids are a technology generation, unlike how we were. We used to love going outside. And if you tell us you're on punishment, you're not going outside, that was the end of the world for us. So we didn't care about TV and all that extra crap. We didn't have phones like that, and it didn't matter. So these kids, all you gotta do is take away their phone, TV privileges, just their freedom, and that's good enough. Take away video games, iPads, and stuff like that. That is enough torture for a child, because having no technology for one day is enough. Like my son, he has iPhone, iPad, all these different like game system, TV and stuff. I just take everything away. No more Netflix, no more YouTube. I block him from the Wi-Fi, everything, where he can't access anything, and he's just sitting there and he got to read books and do book reports. There's other ways you can discipline your child without using physical force or yelling. Because usually when you yell, I have a video that I did, I think last year, when you yell at a child, they immediately tone you out. They don't hear anything you're saying as soon as you start yelling. That's why they look at you dumbfounded. And you're just yelling for no reason. Then you burn out all your energy yelling at them, and they didn't hear nothing you said. And nothing still get resolved. So it's like, use other options. First, starting with calming yourself down before you react. Because whooping a kid is usually a reaction from you. It's nothing else. Like, it's your reaction to what they said, or either they have a smart mouth. Like my son have a smart mouth, and I know I did too, and I gave my mom a hard time, because that's why I used to get in trouble, talking back, mumbling under my breath, smart mouth, stuff like that. So he's doing the same thing I did. So I don't even get mad at it, because I'm like, I did the same thing to my mom. And I just have a conversation with him, like, what's going on? Why are you acting like this? And he'll tell me. He'll be like, I miss my dad, or I want to go to California, I miss my family, I'm homesick. Like, he will tell you what's going on. Kids are smart. They know how to manipulate us before we manipulate them. So it's like they play you against yourself, and then you have parent guilt. Then you're sad. Then you're feeling bad and all this stuff. But one of my ebooks, I have the 5 easy ways to changing your child behavior. I talk about those 5 steps of changing your child behavior and different forms of punishment that you can use. I gave options. That ebook is on my website, and it's only $7, MoniqueAtkinsCoaching.com. But it do give you different options as far as disciplining, and you can also reward your kid, because some kids you got to bribe. That's just it. Like my son is big on negotiating. If I do good for this whole week, can I get my phone back? Like, he got to work for it. So he's cleaning up, he's doing laundry, he's washing dishes, and doing everything I tell him to do to get his stuff back. So he has to earn it back. Once he lose it, just like his reward board, I'll let him do movie night, put just different like sticky notes or index cards on this board. And if he's doing good all week, there's no attitude, he get to pick something for us to do together, and it's our bonding time. So he has to work for my time. So that's another thing. He would do good because he know there's a reward at the end. And that works for these new generational kids because they're materialistic. Like, it'll be simple rewards, coloring books, like a toy, $10 or less, or whatever, or just time, movie night, pizza night. He wins stuff like that, just simple stuff. Also, you can't punish them for a learned behavior. Half of the time, the kids learned it from you. So they got an attitude and they got a mouth, is because you was mouthing off at them, and it's a learned behavior. You cannot punish a kid for something you taught them, period. So you can't get mad because they're just like you. And I see that all the time. Like, oh, he got a mouth and da-da-da-da, but you yelling at him, of course he's going to match your tone. Of course he's going to react the same way you did. And that's why some kids don't even like to talk to their parents, because they're like, you overreact. So when I tell you something, you're going to overreact, you're going to yell, so I just hold it to myself. And that's what's wrong with parents these days. They don't know how to respond to kids. These are not the same type of kids we were, like us 90s and 80s babies. They are not the same as us. They don't have that tough skin like we do. They are so gentle and delicate, it's ridiculous. Just like teasing kids and stuff like that, dealing with bullying. We didn't have no bullying like that. It was jokes. We just we talked back to them. So that's one of the things I do tell parents, like, how are you approaching them? Because sometimes your approach can make them more aggressive as well. And then you get frustrated and you whip them out of frustration. You can't yell and get mad because they match your tone. That's, as I mentioned before, one of the number one things I hear people say, because even in the Facebook group on this question, and when I posted it earlier as a question of the day, someone mentioned, in the Bible, it say, spare the rod, spoil the child. Let me tell you exactly what it say in the Bible, and it's Proverbs 13:24. It says, he who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him. It don't say nothing about beating your child or physically abusing your child. So I hate when people go with the whole Bible term spare the rod. No, it says discipline. Discipline don't mean physically hit your child, because your body is your temple. God is not going to tell you to abuse the body of the temple. Like, no. So it's like, I need people to stop saying that. It don't say anything about abusing your child. It says discipline them. If you care about your child, discipline them. Pretty much is what it's saying. So discipline can be different things. Simple as that. It don't mean abuse your child. And I think that was it. Hold on, let me see if there's any comments. If you guys got questions, let me know, because I can answer any question while we're live about whooping your child. Please do not mentally screw over your child for the next generation to be just as screwed up as all the previous ones, because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, doing what was taught to you, another learned behavior. Get out of that slave mentality and stop trying to control your kids through physical abuse or yelling. It don't work. That's why eventually you have to figure out other options. So educate yourself and learn your child. See the signs. See why they act up. See why they talk back. Figure it out. Talk to them. Communication is key. And if you don't communicate, then I don't know what to tell you. But kids are smart. They know how to manipulate you before you can manipulate them. So your manipulation is only going to last so long before you have to figure out other options. Make them do push-ups and sit-ups. We had to do wall sits, holding books. We have bookshelves full of books. Like, we had to do the thesaurus. Was it thesaurus? Yeah, and dictionaries. We had to hold them like this and do wall sits. That type of stuff, kids are going to hate. But they're not going to be obese kids either. They're going to be fit. So make them go walk. Make them do all the chores, the stuff you don't want to do. Fold clothes. And they got to take over your responsibilities for a week or so. But just take away stuff. Talk to them. And figure out a solution I'm not saying work out a deal with them, but you can do the rewards. Try the rewards board. If you get my ebook, 5 Easy Ways to Change Your Child Behavior, you'll see the different options in the rewards board that I'm talking about. How they lose rewards if they act up, and then they have to gain those rewards back. But definitely try other options. Corporal punishment. What? Making them do chores? At certain ages, they should be doing chores anyway. Like my son is 10. He do the laundry, dishes, check the mail, and take the trash out. And keep his room clean. Those are the 5 things he's responsible for at 10 years old. They can start doing chores as early as 3, 4. They can sweep, vacuum if they're not scared of the vacuum cleaner at that age. Pick up their own toys. You got to start teaching them responsibilities. Otherwise, they'll be grown kids still living in your house with you doing everything for them, stressed out, overwhelmed. And he's even starting to cook at this age, because I learned how to cook at 10. But his dad is teaching him how to cook, and I teach him a few things. My sister do as well. But certain chores they should already be doing at a certain age. So it's really not punishment. It's just making them do what they have to do, and you can add a little more on it. Because eventually they're going to start doing it anyway. But that's all I got for you guys today as far as whooping your kid, but just try other options, because yelling and physical punishment do not work. It will work for a short period of time, but when your kids start to get bigger than you and get older and they get hip to the manipulation, they will figure out a way to manipulate you before you can manipulate them anymore. Or they'll turn against you, and then it'll be 2 fighting people, and then you'll lose your child, and child services get involved. It'll make your life a living hell when you just learn how to communicate and check your attitude before you check theirs, because you might have taught them all those behaviors that you don't agree with and that you dislike, and you made them that way. So I always tell parents, check yourself first. If you got to walk away, take a break, breathe, do whatever you got to do, meditate before you respond. Get these men involved in your child's life. Used to make your son hold books, write his punishment 100 times, run laps. By the time I had my second son, it was called corporal punishment. Okay, see, I do make him write about his feelings. I do have my son journal, because I want to know, why are you angry? What's wrong? So I don't make him hold the books and do the wall sits anymore, but he will do push-ups and sit-ups. And he will have to journal his feelings, because me being a psych major and a parent coach, that's what options I always have. I would give him some my prayer journal. I would go to scriptures about parenting and how he needs to obey his parents, and I would take him to the Bible, and I'll tell him, this is between you and God, but this is what the Bible says. And I have a section here that have all the scriptures about parenting. If you have a mobile Bible, you can just type in the search field parenting, and it'll bring up every scripture in the Bible about parenting. And I will point to him. He's not going to want to journal about what God said to how to treat your parents. Obey your mother and father. And it also tell us we need to educate our kids on the Bible. So that's also in the Bible as well. But he know when I go spiritual, he's like, oh gosh, here we go. And he know he don't want to journal, and he know he don't want to talk about his feelings. So he would get right real quick. Do not think of that. Yeah. It's like 8 to 10 different scriptures, and it just always, they keep repeating, obey your mother and father. And then they keep repeating that all throughout each scripture. And it's in the book of, let me see, for parenting. Because it tells us what's in the different, it's in Ephesians, Exodus, Psalms. Most of them are in Proverbs. And yeah, just type in parenting and it'll bring up, Isaiah has some, Joel. It'll bring up a lot of different ones, but I wrote them down, and I will have him journal about apologize to God, ask for forgiveness, all that. And he understand now, because I tell him, like, you're my blessing from God. Do you want God to give me a different kid that's going to obey me? He'd be like, no, I want to be with you. I said, well, honor and respect me and do what you got to do. I said, because there's some kids that don't even have a mom or dad. And do you want to be like that? So that's enough for him to be like, no, I don't want him to take you away from me. I said, because if something happened to me tomorrow, how are you going to feel that the last thing you said to me was disrespectful? So I put the guilt on him. He don't get to put parent guilt on me. And plus, it takes too much to be whooping a kid and yelling. That takes too much energy. I don't have time for that. He know me. I'm all about setting my energy right, and we will meditate. That's why there's a school, I forgot what state. I shared the article a few times within the last year, where instead of them giving kids like suspensions and stuff like that for behavioral issues, they started doing meditation, and it's worked for the kids. So I do that with my son. We have an area where we have our yoga mat, we have our hand weights, our jump ropes, and our yoga ball, and we will meditate. So we do different options because I need him to channel. Actually, my icebreaker cards, I don't even have them on this desk, it's in my other desk. But if you've been with me over a year, you would know about my icebreaker cards. It's 4 different editions. I have a teen edition, a parent edition, a child edition, and a co-parenting edition. So my icebreaker cards are meant for kids to get to know the parents, and parents get to know the kids. So the child edition is 100 cards in the deck. And these questions are actually in that deck, where it asks them, what do you do to calm yourself? Like, how do you feel when you know you're about to get mad? Those are questions you ask kids, because then you'll see the signs that they're getting ready to get upset. A lot of times, like me, I get frustrated with my son. I notice when I used to get frustrated is when he's hangry. So me as a parent, I know when I wake him up, before I wake him up, have some breakfast ready, because he's going to be grouchy, cranky, hangry, and it's going to irritate me because he's irritated that he had to wake up. So you have to catch and know those signs as a parent, how your kid is, so that you won't lose it because he's like lashing out and angry. I know my kid is a sour kid. You know, the Sour Patch Kid, he's sour and he's sweet. He's sour when he don't have food when he first wake up. So I know, get his meal ready before I wake him up, because otherwise we're going to butt heads. He's going to irritate the hell out of me. So definitely know your child. And if you want, you can go to my website. The icebreaker cards range from $20 to $30. I know the 100 deck is $30 and the co-parenting one is $30, and the other 2 are $20. So you can definitely get that on my website. I can drop it in the comments, actually, since I am on my laptop. So I'll drop my website in the comments so that you guys can get your icebreaker cards. I forgot I had those questions in there. But it's MoniqueAtkinsCoaching.com. So I put it in the comments so you guys can go visit the website whenever you're ready. But definitely check those out, or you can check out the ebook. The ebook is also available. 5 easy ways to change your child behavior. But it usually starts with you. You guys will see my new program next month. It's called I'm the Parent, You're the Child. And this is where I work with parents strategically to identify the triggers of their kid and their triggers, because usually it starts with us. We have to change before our child will change. It's usually starting with us. So that's what we have to keep in mind. Kids don't just do stuff just because. They learn it from us, and we got to correct it before it's too late. Otherwise, then they'll be corrected by the law. But thank you guys for tuning in. That's all I got for you today. And hope you like and share the video. And I'll talk to you guys probably by the end of the week. I have a few more topics that people have requested, and I will announce what topics later. But as of right now, I'll just talk to you guys later. Have a nice night.